It was really life-changing. I think most of the time in the class, I was so in my head about the movements, where I was just nervous about, oh, I'm doing this wrong, or people are going to judge me, or whatever that looked like. Just all the things running through your mind. And then somewhere like halfway through the class, I just started crying. I was just moving and I was crying, and I was like, this doesn't make sense to me, but everything's coming up and I don't know why. And so I started to get that deeper emotional side that I've been ignoring from the numbness of just floating. I started to like have everything come up, and the teacher came up to me and was just like, like guiding me through things and talking to me. She could tell that I needed a little bit of extra love and like guidance. We made it to the end of the class, in the Shavasana part, corpse pose at the end. I just sat there and cried, or laid there and cried. And that was really life-changing to me. And to be able to experience that and know that that really helped me, just releasing that and having that come up, it was the first time I felt like I was ever able to breathe in my life.
Welcome to Live from the Source. I'm joined with my friend Sydni Bougere. Been friends for a while, and she's a yoga teacher, a co-parenting mom, and just a really interesting person. And we're going to talk about her spiritual path and what brought her to this very fruitful path of yoga. All right, Sydni, thank you for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
It's been a while. Not since, I think, Envision. I guess only like, 5 months? 6 months?
Feels like forever, though.
I know. It feels like lifetimes, actually, which is wild.
A lot can happen.
A lot has happened.
Yeah.
And we can definitely talk about that. But yeah, we've known each other for quite a while, and I've seen you kind of progress. And what you've held close to yourself has been this practice of yoga and your own spiritual practice and philosophy. So first things first, I want to explore what brought you to yoga and becoming a yoga teacher.
Okay. A lot. So I went to my first yoga class in 2023. I was in a really bad place. Looking back now, wasn't that bad. It got me to where I am now. I'm thankful for it, but it was hard. I was going through a rough breakup. I was going through like single motherhood. All these things just hit me at once, and just like couldn't find my footing in my career. I was in the dental field at the time, and in school for that, and working in an office. And I felt like just numb, floating through life. I didn't really have much to look forward to, or like any kind of faith or something that made me feel better and fulfilled and more connected to the life that I desired, that I really wanted, because I knew that wasn't where I was supposed to stay. So I guess I just reached a point where it was like, I have to do something different. I was so uncomfortable where I was that I had no other option but to try something different. And somebody was talking about yoga to me, and it just was like, I should try that. Why not? And so I booked an early morning class, like 7 a.m. in Rhino, and went to the studio and walked in. It was, I think, 3 other people in the class. It was super early in the morning, really chill. They had a substitute teacher, and she was just amazing. She showed me around the studio. I was super nervous. I was intimidated, like most people that go to their first yoga practice aren't familiar with that world yet. And it was really life-changing. Like, I think most of the time in the class, I was so in my head about the movements, where I was just nervous about, oh, I'm doing this wrong, or people are going to judge me, or whatever that looked like. Just all the things running through your mind. And then somewhere like halfway through the class, I just started crying. I was just moving and I was crying, and I was like, this doesn't make sense to me, but everything's coming up and I don't know why. And so I started to get that deeper emotional side that I've been ignoring, like from the numbness of just floating. And I started to like have everything come up, and the teacher came up to me and was just like, like guiding me through things and talking to me. She could tell that I needed like a little bit of extra love and like guidance. But at the end of we made it to the end of the class, in the Shavasana part, corpse pose at the end. I just sat there and cried, or laid there and cried. And that was really life-changing to me. And to be able to experience that and know that that really helped me, and just releasing that and having that come up, it was the first time I felt like I was ever able to breathe in my life. Wow. I was never taught breath work. I was never taught meditation. I was never taught the spiritual well-being and taking care of that side of ourselves. And so that was the first time that I had tried anything like that. And I just it was life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I left the studio that day and I told the teacher, this is how I want to help people. I'm going to become a yoga teacher. And she was like, you should do that. So after one class, I knew.
Yeah, so many beautiful things in what you said. And for me, I can just say my whole spiritual path was basically spurred by yoga as well.
Yeah.
Like back in undergrad, I was a pretty intense climber. I would go to climbing gyms like, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, and hit yoga classes like in between climbing or at the end of climbing. Yeah. And I'd always been interested in things like Buddhism or Hinduism or these other philosophies, and just like read a quote here and there, and it like really sunk. And I was like, oh, that's a cool way of seeing it. It just feels more right, honestly. It feels more in alignment. And it was through yoga that I started to, again, get a similar experience to you, more spaciousness injected into my life. And we're not taught that in our culture. It's crazy. The educational system teaches us like math and geometry and American history, which is completely constructed by Americans, which is funny. So we're learning all those things and not learning how to regulate ourselves as human beings, not learning how to develop awareness about ourselves, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to our lives, which would bear much more fruit if we're judging, the payoff as far as improving the quality of our experience. So it sounds like in that moment when you started crying, you finally gave yourself the space to feel those things that you were numbing or pushing away.
100%, yeah.
And I feel like this is a very common story. Your story, my story, like we weren't always quote unquote spiritual, whatever that even means. Yeah. We weren't tapped in the same way. And it seems like across the board, there's some sort of like dark night experience. And I'm curious, do you know what I mean when I say the dark night of the soul?
More like shadow work and having the
basically
stuff to, like, bring it out. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, it's sort of like it was actually a Christian term that means sort of confronting those shadows, where all the things that I've been looking away from or distracting from, all of a sudden they're so big and scary, I can't look away. Yeah. And for you, it sounds like that career in dentistry, which I didn't even know you were into at one point.
It's like an old life,
Yeah, no, same. I got like a degree in environmental science and like literally never used it. It was just like, this is not my path. But it's almost breaking out of that mold. Yeah. The mold that society lays out for us, or I don't know, maybe your parents or culture, that if I just get this job, if I'm just a doctor or a scientist or whatever, then life will be perfect, we'll be secure, everything will be okay. But those career paths, I mean, for some people are definitely fulfilling. I'm not going to say they're not. Yeah. But for many of us, there seems like we need deeper exploration in who we are and what we are. So I'm curious, becoming a yoga teacher, was that coming from a place of desiring to be of service?
Yeah, for sure. Once I experienced my first experience like that in the yoga class, I knew immediately that's how I wanted to help people. And I needed to share that with the world and what I just experienced, because it was so deep and so meaningful. And even though I couldn't necessarily explain it at the time, I just knew that that's what I needed to do. So it's like once I felt it, I couldn't unsee it. And I just had to pursue it.
And it's interesting because not everyone has that frame of like really being drawn to help people. Have you always had that?
Yeah, I think so. And like you were saying, just the traditional pathways of like, okay, I don't want to be a nurse, but I don't want to just trying to figure out and eliminate what works for me and what doesn't. But everything that I was told as a kid in society that was the right path to be successful, I thought, okay, dental, I'll try that and see if that works. And I just had a little girl and was figuring out single parenting life. And I was like, I have to do something, I can't just fall behind, and just a lot of pressure. And so that's how I ended up in dental, which ended up completely burning me out. Not the way I wanted to help people at all. So I've always had that desire and I've always wanted to do well, but I just didn't know where or how to get there. Yeah.
Beautiful. And again, not everyone has that. And I'm curious for you, why? Like, why live your life in service to others?
Yeah. I think it's because I didn't have such an easy life emotionally and mentally growing up. I've experienced different things and forms of abuse, and just from different parents or from different friendships or whatever it may be, in relationships. I never had really good relationships. I didn't choose good partners. And so also what I was saying earlier about my spiritual well-being, I was never taught how to take care of that. So it just felt like a whole lifetime of things just piling up. Yeah. And so whenever I finally experienced that, I couldn't unsee it. Like I couldn't, and it just made sense. It was something I didn't have to question. It was something that just happened. And when it happened, I had no other option but to continue to do that.
Yeah, doing the yoga.
Yeah.
So for you, can you describe a little bit more what the path of yoga has really done for you? And I guess what inspired you to then want to give it to others?
Yeah. Yoga has been completely transformative for my life. It opened up the door to the spiritual world for me because I grew up in a Catholic church and a Presbyterian church with my mom and my dad because they were separated. But I was never shown any other option. It was very closed off to those two. Yeah. And so whenever I burned out on that pretty quick when I was young, and I knew that wasn't for me, not in the capacity that they were at with it. I knew that I wanted something a bit more open and to be more connected to myself. And then yoga kind of opened that door. It allowed me to walk through the door and see and connect with people in a different way on a deeper level and feel fulfilled. Yeah. Actually, like I'm doing some really important work here. I'm really actually helping people. I'm not, so that was super special. My inspiration was the experience that I had. I think with everything always comes back to that moment of me just crying in the studio because I'm like, that literally got me here. It was that one moment of making that decision to go there that led me exactly to where I'm at now with helping people and retreats and the online studio, just everything that has built up to this point. And then seeing clients that I work with or the retreats that I've had and just those things, seeing that and how it has helped people has been a huge part of it as well, because I'm getting hands-on experience and I'm actually seeing people open their doors and be able to walk through it through me just being raw and authentic and being myself and in my truth, and here's how I can help you. It seems to go a lot further, and seeing the results of that is really motivational as well. Yeah,
I love that, and I can definitely relate to your experience. There's something in me when I was doing other jobs, like food jobs or even construction. It's kind of fun, food jobs are social, construction's, working with your hands is great. But at the end of the day, after, years, there's something in my being that's like, who cares? Yeah. Like, what am I actually doing? Yeah. And then that's what led me to grad school to become a therapist and also to actually make content in general. And I see that in you too. I see where it's coming from, and it's that deep desire to serve and to be helpful. And it's so beautiful that you say it really comes from what we could call darkness. That darkness to me seems like such a teacher. It opens us up to real kindness, to at the end of the day, what matters? At the end of the day, who cares? And there's a beauty in that fire that burns down sort of what is not quite necessary. And then we can build from the ground up. Yeah. And it sounds like you found that path for you, which is, again, coming from your own direct experience, this thing that helped to save you in a certain way.
Oh, it did. It saved me.
Yeah. Sure. And maybe we can explore that a little bit. Saved you from what?
I don't think I was in a good headspace. I don't think I was even aware of myself or aware of my actions and how they affected people. I was in a very ignorant state of being. Is a good way to sum it up.
Cool. So the yoga practice brought you to a deeper state of awareness, self-awareness. Yeah. And how has that self-awareness organically shifted things in your life?
Yeah. Relationships with my parents, just the way I move and talk to people on a day-to-day basis, especially with my daughter. It's been huge, being able to slow down, focus on my breath, not get overstimulated, and just be like, she's 4 years old. We're going to figure it out. We're going to talk about it. But, just allowing me to have that self-awareness of how I act is going to affect her for the rest of her life. So there's many deeper aspects to how it has helped me, but I think that's been one of the bigger things for sure.
It sounds like more skill in relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
And through connection, exactly. Yeah. And ultimately this whole world is built on relationship. My relationship to others, my relationship to myself, my relationship to my past, the future. Those relationships determine the quality of our experience. Yep. So being able to, like you said, slow down which is so difficult in this culture. That seems to be, for me, one of the main, like, real strengths of yoga.
Yes.
Is because I meditate every day, like, without a doubt, unless I'm, like, in the mountains or doing things like going to festivals or whatever. But the meditation helps to slow you down. But there's something much more somatic about linking movement to breath, where it's just something in your whole being kind of relaxes. And sitting with, let's say, just the discomfort of life, the anxiety, the not knowing, the fear, the regret, whatever, feeling those things somatically in the body, like the tightness in the chest, for instance.
Yeah.
And then using something like, for me, sun salutations are like a godsend, like consistently, like just warm up the spine, move the energy. And I see it as sort of like when you bend a paperclip back and forth and it gets all hot. It's like, that's, that energy in your spine, which is our antenna to creation. I think I heard Sadhguru say that. And when I was in a Sikh community, they do lots of Kundalini yoga, which really emphasizes like intense breath work and a lot of like spinal movements. And the Sikhs, they told me that your age, your physical age, actually runs parallel to the age of your spine. So if you keep it energized and warm and fluid, your whole being will reflect that. And I really think it's true. And just being able to, again, move that contraction, so essential. And it brings me at least to this point of resolution of like, oh, what do I say to this person I'm having a conflict with? Or what do I do in the situation that it seems scary or daunting? Slow down. Don't break contact with it.
Yes.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
Not on reels, not calling somebody, not watching TV. You're still in contact with that scariness. And through just moving that energy, it seems like we naturally come to a point of resolution. And like knowing what I have to say to that person I'm in conflict with, or knowing my next step forward in this transition period of life. It's that slowness, which is interestingly so difficult in our culture, but is the biggest treasure. Yeah.
It is. It's like gold.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm curious for you, cultivating that gold in your life, really slowing down in your students. And I have my own perspectives on this, but why is it so hard to slow down?
From the time that we wake up in the morning to just going out on the way to work, driving, whatever it is, you've already been stimulated so many times by your phone, a TV, a coffee machine, drinking caffeine is one of them, but like just so many different things. I know a lot of people that wake up and they just grab their phone first thing in the morning, so it's like automatically your nervous system isn't naturally built to take that on immediately like that. So you go out your whole day without slowing down or meditating or doing that, and then you just keep going and going and going. That's the culture that our society has built. So it's really hard.
My question is why? Because the happiest periods of my own life have been like at Zen centers and monasteries, which like from the outside looking in kind of sucks. Like you wake up at like 4 every day and you work and you meditate for like 3-4 hours a day, and like you're just sweeping stairs
but you feel so good.
Like exactly, right? And it's almost like, for me, in order to let yourself slow down like that, you have to let go of the infinite ambition that life can give you. It never ends. There's no end point to, I want this life. I want this vision of success. I want my life to feel better like XYZ way. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently. But again, just for me, it never ends. And having achieved certain things in my life and recognizing, oh, there's always something after that. Fuck, what do I do? Is there ever an end here? And that's where like slowing down and letting go of those deeper, deep-seated ambitions that might be very like subtle. Like, I just want to feel good. We're not even conscious of that goal sometimes, but it's running our lives. Like pushing away certain emotions, certain mind states, because I just want to feel good. Not knowing how that is kind of haunting us. And so if we let go of, that's a big one, obviously, trying to feel good. But if we can let go of that, there is such a tremendous amount of freedom and release and actually peace in letting ourselves feel like shit sometimes.
You have to. You have to sit with life. It.
Exactly. And I think these contemplative practices, whether it is meditation or yoga, help to get us back in touch with what we could call like the fullness of the human experience. And that full spectrum like it's beautiful and joyous and connected and loving, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes I feel disconnected, and sometimes I'm like whatever, guilty or afraid, and actually there's nothing wrong with anything on that spectrum. It's our preference that seems to create, actually we could call heaven and hell. I like the good. I don't like the bad. Seems so natural, but interestingly, when we can like relax that preference, this is fine the way it is. And just because it hurts doesn't mean it's not fine.
Exactly. It's a flow state. Honestly.
Exactly.
Once you get into it, and it's easy to get out of with our culture, but it feels so good whenever you're in that flow state and you just have that, which is one of the yogic principles, is detachment. You know, it's, well, self-awareness as well, but the self-awareness and detachment is exactly what you're talking about. It's being able to, hey, I have these things, but I don't need them, and I'm not attached to a certain outcome or a certain result, and the way that I don't need this in the way that I think that I do, or have been trained to think that I do. So it's being able to detach from any of that and just be in that flow state, and then being like self-aware throughout that process is, you know, that's one of the huge things about yoga that's taught me that I've been able to help myself with through practice. So,
and I would love to hear you speak a little bit more on the philosophy of yoga, and I love that notion of, it seems like, skillful detachment. Where I think it can, some people may be averse to that word because it seems like, oh, why do you want to detach from life?
A lot of people hear detachment, and I've heard this from many students before, and we've had these conversations about, no, detachment does not mean that you don't care about anything. It means the opposite. It's like healthy boundaries in your life. That's, you know, a good way to put it. It's, I don't need to be attached to this one thing, and this one thing, no matter what the outcome is not going to determine my behaviors, myself, my, you know, it's not going to spiral me into a big depression or do this. It's having that detached, I guess, perspective on those things, that I'm good no matter what. I'm content. I'm grateful. I have everything I need here in me, and all the rest is just, that's the flow. That's the web of life. That's the ebbs and flows. It's the way it goes. And I'm in that, but I'm not attached necessarily to it, if that makes sense.
I think it does make sense. I mean, obviously, for me, it reminds me of the quote, which is, I think, from Christ, which is to be in the world, but not of it. Which is interesting. And I think actually takes some nuance to unpack, where how can I be fully in the world and somehow not of it? What does that even mean? And it's like still having that courage to explore and engage in life. And for me, I love the phrase sinking your teeth into this place while we're here. Really tasting the juiciness of life, the theater of life and relationship, while still maintaining a healthy detachment. It's like holding to what seems like polarities. Like they can't be the same, right? But we can somehow have both, where we can be fully in this place and still have that kind of detached perspective where, like you said, recognizing this thing X, whether it be the relationship, whether it be the money, the job, the success, it actually, for me, in a very deep way, can't get you anything that you don't actually already have. In our hearts right now are the seeds of joy, peace, profound love. Except we seem to put a boundary between ourselves and those experiences by saying, I'm only worthy of love if I have a partner like this, if I have this amount of money in the bank, if I have this amount of success so that I can prove to my dad that I'm worthy. So we create those boundaries, and then they're actually there, where I'm really not worthy of love unless I have X, Y, Z boxes checked. And the key for me is we can just get rid of those boundaries and access deep love right now for no reason. No reason. It's no reason required, at least. And that seems to be, again, a skill, breaking through conditioning, really. Conditioning from our culture and especially our families when we're teeny tiny growing up. And obviously you have a daughter. She's in this process now, but we can't interpret the world in a very rational way. Let's put it like that. So we develop things like trauma, fears, relational wounding. And it seems like that almost is part of the path, where so many people think there's something wrong. I fucked up as a parent if my kid is having problems. In my life, I look at all the wounds I've gathered, a lot of which from my family. And I don't blame them. Actually, I never have. It's just kind of the flow of things. And I see those wounds as such a blessing. It's like it teaches me about myself. It teaches me how to be of service, right?
Yes. It was all part of our path to get us here.
Exactly.
You know, there's a lesson in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you look at it as the experience instead of being attached to what's actually happening and recognizing that, oh, wait, there's something in this. This is happening for a reason so that I can learn from it and move forward as a better human, as a better soul,
Mm-hmm.
and take that forward with me. You know,
Yeah.
there's something in everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's such a difficult, I guess, way of seeing to hold on to when life sucks.
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is all for a reason, and it still sucks.
Yeah. But I have to go through it to get where I
Exactly.
need to be, the place I want to be, you know?
And that's what I say, like, always say to myself, like, it has to suck.
Yeah.
Yes, this is shitty. I can't think. My mind isn't clear. I feel like pain in my body emotionally, and I just trust it.
Yeah.
And the trust, it's interesting. It doesn't at first make a difference on the experience. It adds a certain openness, though, and a certain ability to feel the beauty in that pain, actually, as opposed to that crippling resistance of like, why is this happening to me? Like, why? This shouldn't be how my life goes.
It's a victim mentality.
Right, exactly. Instead of seeing, in my mind, like the divine orchestra that is playing out in front of us. And sometimes those notes kind of hit weird.
Yeah.
And just trying to trust that.
They'll throw you sideways, for sure.
Exactly. But I want to spend a little more time with yoga philosophy again. So you talked about detachment. I think that's obviously profound and maybe different from what a lot of people hear about spiritual practice, about being engaged in life.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what else has really struck you out of yoga philosophy?
I would say contentment. Being content with what you have already and knowing that you are enough as you are. Like you said, those limiting beliefs earlier that society puts on you, breaking through those through doing the practice and having that work and just knowing that you are enough as you are. You're content with what you have, because whenever you are vibrating at that frequency, you will attract everything that you actually want and that is good for you and that you need, and the friends or the job or the place. You can't end up in the wrong place. You know, but you have to come from that place of contentment.
Totally.
And so that's also kind of with the flow of life. It's just going through the flow, but knowing I'm in the right place at the right time because this is supposed to be showing me something and it's happening for a reason. So I think that's a huge part of the practice that has helped me a lot personally from personal experiences: contentment, self-awareness, attachment.
I love that notion of cultivating contentment.
Yeah.
Because again, I think based on conditioning, for me at least, a lot of the time it can feel like contentment is tied to a certain outcome.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be. That's the magic understanding where we can be content, deeply content, without any external circumstances being the way that we want them to be.
Yeah.
Again, it's that want, it's that preference for things to go a certain way, where if life doesn't flow in that direction, boom, suffering, discontent. Whereas if I just can open to the way that things are, which can be easier said than done sometimes, then that resistance fades and all of a sudden this is actually fine. Like really deeply, more than fine, like profoundly peaceful and beautiful, depending on how deeply I can actually align with something so simple, which is just the way things are right now.
Yeah, it's really that simple, but it's so hard. Like,
right.
It's just so hard to achieve.
Why do you think that is?
I would say a lot of people live in their minds instead of in the present of what's actually happening. So a lot of times we get tied up in our minds instead of acknowledging the feelings in our body, what it's showing, where it's manifesting, what we actually need. And then, because our mind is not us, right?
Yeah.
That's my, my experience, is that I am separate from my mind. My mind is just the voice in my head that is trained to protect me from dangerous situations and has personal bias and these things. But that's not me. My soul and my body is, my body is my vessel. My soul is who I am.
Yeah.
So it's separate from the mind. And I think a lot of people live in their mind. And that's where you get anxiety and all these other things. And it's like you need to tie down to the present moment and be able to ground down. And that's where yoga has helped me a lot as well, is through doing that and practicing, whether it's meditation, breath work, or asana, the physical postures, and going through a yoga class. It all leads to the same place. There's many different ways to do it, but it all leads to the same place of just being grounded.
Yeah. Grounded in what?
I would say in the body and connected to yourself, but also to the world around you. Whether that's nature, or if you live in the city, we're literally just bringing awareness to your feet and knowing that I am here in this present moment and my breath is my anchor and I am okay, you know.
Yeah.
Be able to get yourself through those things and get out of the mind into the body, noticing what you need is huge.
I love everything that you're saying. And I've just did a solo podcast on this, where real freedom and enlightenment could never be intellectual. It doesn't exist there. No. It exists only in the feeling body, and it's actually here now. Yeah. And what's so tricky is that we as a culture have conditioned ourselves to live from the neck up. Yes. Because in my experience as a therapist, actually, when the feeling body doesn't become a safe place, we send our energy and awareness to the mind, actually to try to think of a way to fix that discomfort, to find a solution for this somatic pain, really. And sometimes that works. Sometimes we can change, the people we're hanging with, or our jobs, or external conditions. But there are some problems, like emotional distress and pain, that you cannot fix externally, actually. No. And the only way to really fix that pain seems to be sinking into it. And that's why it seems paradoxical. And I always tell clients, it is counterintuitive. We're going towards the suffering. We're going towards the pain.
Oh, you have to.
It's the warrior's path. Yeah. And there's something purifying about that, where it's the running away from my discomfort, whether that be mental, spiritual, emotional discomfort. Running away from it makes it worse. Yes. You can see this in your own life externally. If I run away from my problems, the fact that I hate my life, or I don't feel like I'm enough, or I hate the way my body looks, like if I run from that, then you're not going to find the message hidden within that discomfort. Go to the gym, go to do some yoga, get a different job, go back to school. There's all these options that appear when we are willing to listen to discomfort. And I tell clients this because I deal with a lot of people that have anxiety. It's like so prevalent in our culture, and it doesn't have to be. When we can actually, through that warrior kind of frame, face and really hold those unpleasant experiences in the body exactly as they are. Not being like, oh, I'm just going to feel this tightness in my chest so that it goes away. That's still actually resistance. Yeah. I mean, letting ourselves really just, this is welcome here. Yeah. As they say in Tibet, welcoming our demons in for tea. That pain, that trauma, that fear, welcome it in and see what happens. There's, again, because life is not separate from our relationship to it. Yeah. Our emotions aren't separate from the way we relate to them. So when I can welcome that discomfort through, again, meditation, just sitting, or through yoga, just not distracting, then something profound happens. There's that transformation where then when we feel safe in the body, when I've made friends with that discomfort, those demons, they can't haunt me in the same way because there's love for them, and that love has sort of transformed them.
They're part of you.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I can access the deep, profound wisdom that is actually already in the body, because we think knowing exists only in the mind. Yeah. But the body knows quite a bit. It showed you how to be a human being. Your mind didn't teach you. Your body already has that ingrained in it. And I think that the heart, I actually know the heart and the human body has very profound wisdom in it about the nature of being, inherent unity, oneness, transcendence. If you ask those questions and don't fall into thought, sink into the body and listen to what feels right, because that's how the body communicates to us. If we're believing a story that feels painful, that's an indication the body's like, don't believe that story. It's literally communication. Yeah. Where when it's like, for me, the inherent oneness of being and the illusion of death as we know it, that just feels more right. It feels better in the body. And that's your body saying, yeah, that's more in alignment with truth, actually. Yeah. But again, that's a product of being safe in the body. And that's where I see something like yoga can be so profound to help heal in a way that talk therapy can't, and heal in a way that meditation can't, in a way that even something like psychedelics sometimes cannot. Yeah. Just moving that energy as we face those demons. Yeah. So you, as a yoga teacher, you're doing online coaching and retreats? Yeah. So retreats in Colorado and then Costa Rica coming up, and online studio is my main thing that I have right now, but just live classes, teaching there, working with clients one-on-one, and then on-demand stuff as well. It's kind of
open, many options. But
And I think you said, because we were going to record a few weeks ago and you had something come up, you also work with first responders.
yeah. So I have a first responder yoga program that I created because first responders, think about it, on a day-to-day basis, the things that they go through, their nervous systems are insane.
For sure.
Absolutely wild. They're up and down. And being in that kind of environment as a professional career choice can have a toll. My father was a firefighter, so I witnessed firsthand growing up how that can affect, it leaves the workplace and can come home, or dysregulated nervous system. And so for me, it became kind of a passion project to help people open their doors and walk through it. And be like, wow, okay, it feels good to slow down and just breathe and take care of my body. I work with them on many different aspects of the yoga practice. Sometimes I go in there and I'm like, all right, this seems like a good day to do some physical movement. Let's go through a class. And sometimes I go in there and you could just feel the energy is not they don't need that. It needs to be slow. Let's do some breath work. Let's meditate. Let's check in more without more movement. So
cool.
Yeah, that's been my passion project for the last 2 years. I started doing that before the retreats and before the online studio. So that's also been a huge part of getting me to where I am today. Yeah.
So your inspiration for that was seeing your dad having a difficult time being a firefighter.
Yeah.
And seeing the intensity that comes with being a first responder like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had many family members in the military as well, and especially with my father and that. So I'm slowly starting to open it up. And firefighters were just the first responders that I initially started this with. But I am, in some point in my life, because I intend to keep this going to open it up to all first responders and help more people.
Cool. And I'm curious because, being a first responder, especially being, a firefighter or a policeman, like those are pretty traditionally masculine jobs.
Yes.
Are these people, are they generally receptive to the yoga practice, which can seem so different from that frame?
Yeah, not at first. No. You can tell generally who is and who isn't, especially when I go into a class for the first time with first responders. I can usually tell, okay, well, this person has done this before, or they're more open to it. And I do get a lot of pushback sometimes, but after 6 months of me coming in there consistently, because I work with a lot of them monthly or weekly even, so after about 6 months of that, they start to realize, like, I feel better. I feel normal. I feel like I can sit and not be up and down all the time. And then they start to get excited. And then I've started to be like, oh, I've walked in the class and I'm like, I'm so glad you're here. I've been waiting for this. I need this. So I'm just giving them the tools so that they can integrate it into their day-to-day life is my goal. But I've received a lot of pushback at first.
What does that pushback look like?
I think there's just like an inner resentment to it, or resistance.
Interesting.
Of it's new. And whenever things are new, it scares people. And, there's people who have already had many experiences like that early on in life, or at any time in their life, where they're like, I feel resistance, I'm going straight towards that. And that's how me and you probably both are, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of people that are completely new to that, and it's the woo-woo world, and it can freak out a lot of people at first, and it's just new to the system. So they get nervous. Yeah. And
like you said, like it's considered like something like yoga or like what I teach or spirituality in general, like New Age spirituality can seem so woo-woo.
Yeah.
And there definitely is a lot of woo-woo. But at the same time, a lot of it, like for me, yoga, let's just look at breathing, stretching, stillness. You just do those things. Don't even call it yoga. Yeah. You're going to improve the quality of your life. And it seems so silly. Again, I think it falls into strict gender roles. Like, I'm a man. I don't feel anything. I don't have emotions.
That's society.
Isn't that so destructive too? Yeah. And me as a masculine man who's also like inherently sensitive, like I feel a lot and it hurts. Yeah. And it's great. So I had no choice but to figure this whole emotion thing out. Like, how do we regulate this being here that feels so much? And especially with the masculine, I see a lot of the wounded, toxic masculine as a product of an inability to actually be human and embrace emotions. Yep. And because of that, there's so much locked up, so many quote unquote demons that we haven't built a skillful relationship with. that shit my dad said to me when I was 8 years old, or everything that happened in my past, or all the fear that I feel about, trying to keep my family safe and supported that I just can't express as a man.
Yeah.
All of that energy then is something that we run from. So it's interesting that off the bat, it seems like that woo-woo stuff, to again, that traditional masculine expression, can seem like not it. But like you said, it's the warrior's path, actually.
Yeah.
We're meeting our discomfort. That's what, in my mind, that's what a real man does. We can be a warrior on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
We can fight fires, we can fight wars, we can protect people externally. But what about fighting in my mind, the most important battle of our lives, which is with ourselves, with our minds, with our past, with our future, like all of these things. Can I fight this battle? And I don't love that metaphor, actually, because it's not really fighting. We're grappling with discomfort. Yeah. Ultimately, that's what it is. Pain, fear, regret. And learning how to soften into those things, to breathe, to relax, to learn that I can hold these things. I can even cry in a yoga class or meditation as a man, release some of that pent up energy. Yeah. And I'm still a man.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen it so many times. Most of the people that I work with now are actually men. It just ended up that way with who I've ended up helping the most. But I see that a lot. Yeah.
And it's, I think, part of this beautiful resurrection of the masculine and the feminine, just really understanding these sort of gender roles, because I think there's a beauty and actually a necessity in polarity, but really understanding what that looks like, these masculine and feminine expressions. Like we're not in the age of rape and pillage as we were 500 years ago, say. We're in an age of actually healing, because we're not dying of starvation and disease and war the way we were 500 years ago. So life is, we have everything externally that we need. So why does life suck? And that's a valid question. And that's what, again, contemplative practice can help us get in touch with, understanding what really is the heart and the mind, the internal versus the external. And I want to touch on also you being not a single mom anymore, but a co-parenting mother, right? But so you had your daughter Ava when you were 22.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious how that has impacted you, and being a single mom, especially on the spiritual path. How has that affected your life, your ambitions, your goals?
Yeah. Well, I say that my daughter saved me to everybody that asks, because before that, like I said, I was in a place of ignorance. I was making really dumb decisions and not taking care of myself in the way that I should have been. And whenever I had her, it was one of my wake-up calls. I've had a few wake-up calls in life, but she was a really big one for me. Because then in that moment, I had to stop everything I was doing. I had to get my shit together. At least that's what I felt, at the time. I was like, okay, I need to get it together. And just watching her grow and be this beautiful little light being just from the start, it really opened my eyes to, wow, okay, I'm going to shape this experience for her. I need to do better, and I need to start taking care of myself and doing these things and making better decisions and trying to find the right pathway so I could be a good example for her. Because before her, I don't think I would have been a good parent or example at all.
Yeah. So go on.
But yeah, so she was just I have a few events in my life, a trigger event, that have gotten me to where I am, and she was the main one for sure. Another
one being the darkness you experienced at that point in your life. Earlier.
I lost my stepdad, who was like a real dad to me. He was very important. It was my move to Colorado. That was a trigger point. And then immediately a year later, so I guess not immediately, but very soon after being here, I wasn't even settled in yet. I got pregnant with Ava. It's not in a good relationship, and it just was very, very hard pregnancy, everything. So that was a trigger event, kind of made me get my shit together, because I was spiraling when I lost, that masculine energy in my life that had gotten me through so much. And after that, going through rough breakup, doing everything, getting into yoga practice, that was a trigger event, because after that, it wasn't even 2 weeks. I handed in my 2 weeks notice, actually, and it was like, I'm done. And I booked it to Bali, and I stayed in Bali for 2.5 months and just did my trainings and just like flowed. I just followed the intuition. My intuition was like, that's where you need to go. That's where I'm going. And all these events led me to that. And there was just instant changes like this.
It sounds like you made like dramatic shifts.
Yeah.
Were you scared at all doing that?
Yeah, at first, yes. Now I kind of embrace it and I'm like, that's definitely what I need to do. I do trust my intuition. I don't second guess it, you know? So at first I wasn't tapped in enough to even recognize that this is my intuition telling me something. It was more of just like, oh, scary thought or this, you know, I wasn't tapped in enough to even realize that's what I needed to do. I was scared of it. I had resistance.
Yeah. So you've been able to tune into your intuition more. I'm curious, what allowed you to do that? Or for you also, when you talk about tuning into your intuition, what does that mean, like experientially?
Yeah. So it's a lot of times it's not my mind. A lot of times whenever I feel intuition, it just happens naturally and like I will just start going that direction. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just so natural and in alignment and flowing with what I'm doing. I'm like, there's no other option. That's what I'm doing. You know, it's just a knowing. Instant knowing, like I call them downloads. Sometimes I get downloads and I'm like, all right, this is what I got to do. You know, and it's not even an intellectual thing. It's just a complete knowing in my body.
That's what I was gonna say also. I feel like this ties back to what we were saying about most people living in the mind. In the mind, it's hard to find like a set path sometimes because I could do this, I could do that, but there's pros and cons to that, or I could do this third option and really what's the right move? Where that's so heady. So many stories, so many narratives and possibilities. Sinking into the body, the next step for me, it feels like it's already known. Like if you just settle, relax, take a deep breath, be with the context of your life right now, you already know that next step.
Your body already knows where you need to go. It's just you have to slow down and meditate on it. If I ever am feeling lost or have a question about decisions or what to do, I meditate because it gets me out of my head into my knowing. And then immediately I have the answer.
Isn't that crazy? Like so many people, especially with anxiety, spiral trying to find what's the right thing to do. And it's like, try less actually. Do less. Sink into the body. But like I've said before, that's where the pain is. What do I do? What if it hurts? What if it's not the right move? What if I fuck everything up? Sit with that, right? Like make a friend with those feelings. And then the wisdom will come through. Because again, we know our next step. We have that intuition already ingrained into us. If we feel courageous enough to inhabit the feeling body. And I will always tell people that you're not going to explode feeling uncomfortable emotions. Your eyes are not going to pop and start bleeding. You're not going to get overtaken by some demonic essence. Like it really is just a somatic sensation. So, and can it be really painful? Yes. But we can endure it. And there's this notion of what's called touch and go in psychotherapy, where if it is really painful, some trauma that, you know, has haunted us for a while, and really that we've been resisting for a while, it's going to hurt quite a bit. So when we first touch into it even just a couple seconds, and then dip. Take the mind to something else, use skillful distractions, and then touch into it again. Because that's how we start to build that relationship with that intensity.
And I think that's something that people don't realize either, is this is an overtime thing. This isn't just an instant, hey, I feel better. You know, things resurface all the time. You'll think that you're done with something, and you're not. You know, you need to tap back into it because you need certain triggers in your life to bring it out in the first place. And so I've received that a lot with yoga as people start and they're like, oh, immediately, like, I'm not feeling this. And I'm like, you have to consistently integrate it into your life, into your day-to-day. And then over time, it becomes a way of life. It becomes your lifestyle and you feel better. You know? So.
And that's a big part of being realistic with any spiritual path. This stuff takes practice and it takes time.
It's a practice.
And if there is no practice, there will be no growth. That's the thing. Like this podcast, like what I teach is it's useless if it's not practiced. Unfortunately, the only growth that will happen is the practice. So this whole medium is almost like inspiration for people to practice, you know, whether it be yoga or just really trying on radically different ways of relating to the world. We need to actually engage in that practice. And that takes work, that takes energy, that takes intention, that takes discipline. All of those things are cultivated through something like contemplative practice, for instance. Yoga, meditation. We're not just cultivating mindfulness, for instance. We're cultivating, again, discipline, the ability to sit with discomfort,
Yeah.
courage, the ability to rest, the ability to have control over our experience, the ability to become more aware. There's so many things that we are practicing through one practice, like yoga or like meditation.
The benefits are unlimited. It just goes on.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many, and this is just more like a theoretical pondering, but how many of our problems in life, how much of the spreading of trauma from person to person, just unmet, unfelt, unhealed trauma, could be addressed through injecting more stillness, more, courage to be with, more movement, more breath into our lives.
I would say all of it. To be real, I think that it can't solve your problems, but it gives you the tools to do it. And it gives you the courage, the intention, and intention is huge, and discipline and focus to really dive into those things. And nothing can't be solved with those things. If it's, there's things that are out of our control, but a lot of the times there are things in our body that are in our control that we're just not dealing with. And so I think that yoga has helped me with a lot of those things. I would say that all of it could really be, if you use the tools for that correctly, then yeah.
And I guess the question comes down to, what do we want as human beings? And this goes a little bit deeper into like our coding as human beings, where it's like, do some people even want like peace or freedom or joy? Because it seems like some people actually just want like material success and say money or power, like material power. And I think it actually takes a certain degree of self-awareness to recognize those things, like sensory pleasure, for instance, whether it be like food or sex or fancy things. It provides a relatively shallow degree of like pleasure compared to the deeper elements of pleasure, like for me, and I'm assuming for you, like finding deep fulfillment and meaning and being of service. The depth of that nourishment for the soul is just not even comparable to like sense pleasures, as they say in Buddhism. Just like again, pleasant food or sexual pleasure, all those things. It's we don't quite see the limitation in those things because we live in a very materialistic world, or I would say worldview. And it's just it's sad because it's like so many people it's not desire that's the issue. The Buddha taught that, desire leads to suffering, yes, but also we can channel desire in the right way to actually lead to profound freedom and peace. And the thing is, if we point our desires in that materialistic direction, we're going to be spinning the wheels forever until we learn there's another direction, the internal, really understanding the heart and the mind so that we can cultivate more inner peace, joy, and rest, and then project that externally. So it seems like, again, if we understand that, the question, and this is a really deep and I would say almost unanswerable question, but what do we want?
I think that it depends on the person, and I think that we all have different souls and desires, and there's new souls and there's old souls. And everybody's at a different timeline, in a different place, whether they've been here many times before, they've been here once. But I think that kind of determines how and where they're going and what the goals are. Because you have to have somewhat of a knowing and experience, whether in this lifetime or a previous, to have that foundation to get further or to understand what you're wanting. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
On for me, soul's journey.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I pondered this question for so long, and at first it was, I just want to be happy. You spend enough time with that question and it starts to fall apart. Like, what does happy even mean?
You have to be specific.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I just want to be at peace. And then what does that even mean? Like, what is my definition of peace? Is it beyond like conflict and growth, or is it within conflict and growth? Yeah. And then it turned to like service. Like, I just want to be of service. And the question is, what does that mean? It's almost like a never-ending question. Yeah. And it seems like it's less about the answers we find. It's more about actually grappling with that question. That is going to refine us, because we all have this very, I would say, unconscious, for the most part, compass. Sometimes it's conscious, but what direction are we moving in? Yeah. And when we can get down to that layer of the coding of our experience, when we start to really ask these really potent questions, it can direct us in a much more fruitful direction.
Yeah.
Like, again, being of service versus material gain. To me, it seems obvious.
Yeah.
And I think there's a study that said for treatment-resistant depression, one of the most effective treatments is actually volunteering beyond anything else, which is like way beyond SSRIs.
It's real fulfillment. It's intention. It's deeper meaning to life. It's more faith and hope. Like it gives you so much more.
Right. And
yeah,
I think for me, there's like deep truths related to knowing we're all so deeply interconnected. In a sense, we're not separate at all.
No. Yeah.
My life and my mind, my heart is affecting you, and likewise.
Yeah.
So when we sink into that place of service, we're more in line with actually a deeper truth. And what's so trippy to me, seeing how the mind works, is when I'm in service to other people, the ego, which often strangles us, it's all my life, my freedom, my spiritual progress, me. Mm-hmm. It can be strangling. And again, there's no endpoint that's ever going to fully satisfy the ego. The ego in its manifestation is inherently insecure. Yeah. Because you're believing an illusion that you're separate and fragmented from.
It's all about you.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I am actually in service, the stranglehold of that ego, of that self-preoccupation just loosens. And all of a sudden, it's not all about me, and I actually don't even care. Yeah. And that was, for me on my spiritual path, what really led me to be a therapist and actually to make content in general. Because it's like all of this work, this dedication, the books, the practices, the waking up at 4 a.m. to meditate. For who is this for? Yeah. And there's a quote I love where, I forget who said this, but the reason we suffer is because 99% of our lives are lived in service of us, the ego. Yes. And ultimately that ego doesn't exist. So checkmate. Like, and then if that ego doesn't exist, if it's always been sort of mentally constructed, what do we do? Yeah. And that's the open question, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like whenever, at least from my personal experience, whenever I help other people in their healing, in their journeys, I'm also healing a part of myself. I feel like I'm doing, like I'm in my dharma. Like I feel good about what I'm doing. And that is the most fulfilling thing in the whole world. Yeah. You know, I think whenever you are somebody who is into service and you want to be of service to other people, it has to come from a place of good intention, because you have to be intentional about the things you do, how you do it, especially in a sensitive healing world. So it definitely comes down to, I guess, the intention behind it, and also just helping other people really does help yourself in the same way, because it is a big web of life. We're not disconnected. We're detached healthily, you know, but we are also one with the universe. Like, I'm no better than that tree over there. You know, I'm not any better than the grass. I'm connected to it. We're the same. We're all like intertwined in the web of life, and it's beautiful. And once you realize that, I think that's a huge part of the spiritual journey, is coming to that realization. And you know, sometimes you come to realizations where it's like you can't even put it into words. You just feel it. You just know.
Those are those real downloads for me. Like I don't think about it. It's like a knowing in my body where it's almost given to me. And I'm like, I guess that's the way it is.
that's what it's got to be.
Right. And that seems to be communication from things, again, beyond the mind. Yeah. Again, if that heart space really does connect us to that unity that we all share, maybe that's entering into what people could call the Akashic record, or that ether where everything is already known and has already played out, actually. Something beyond time and space as we experience it. That human heart can connect us there. And the feelings then through that heart and through that feeling body are interpreting the messages from that very ethereal place. And I think a big part is trusting that too. Trusting your intuition. And for me, I think about when I went to India. I just graduated undergrad. I was like hella depressed, didn't know what I was going to do. I had like $3,000 to my name, saving up, like delivering Chinese food in undergrad. And I just sent it. And my parents were, both my parents are MDs. So they're like, what are you doing? You just got your undergraduate degree and you're going to go like literally basically be homeless in Asia. There was no understanding. And I was like, honestly, I have no clue why.
Yeah.
I have to. I feel like I have to. In hindsight, it seemed like it was more of like a rite of passage kind of thing. I needed to really get out of my the comfort zone, the culture that I'd known for a while, and just send it and see, do I actually have myself?
Yeah.
And if I did not trust that intuition, if I lived in the mind of where the what if lives, what if something bad happens? Which, you know, I did get trapped in India for like 4 months because of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Like,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's like worst case scenario. And
Yeah.
I was at a point, where listening to the body was absolutely essential, guiding me into something really uncomfortable in a lot of ways. That traveling alone is not necessarily fun all the time.
No, it's scary sometimes.
Right.
There's no better way to know yourself than go somewhere where you know nothing. Yeah. I resonate with that a lot with what you said, because I did the same thing when I got my download and went to Bali. I just had to go. I just knew I had to do this. That was my rite of passage. And it changed so much for me. I realized that we have so much backwards here compared to how we should actually be living.
Yeah.
You know?
That was one of my biggest takeaways from international travel, was
Yeah.
seeing like such radically different cultures. Like if you go to like rural India, or I'm sure Bali too, people are living radically different lives. And I would say living literally in a different world. The conceptual framework that they're operating from is drastically different.
Yeah.
And that in itself is freeing, especially from the tightness and the pain that seems to be inherent in the Western American way of being, the American dream, the pursuit of happiness, not the promise of happiness, just the pursuit. Yeah. That whole frame, it hurts so much. And for me, I thought it was just the way things were. This is just life. Yeah. And then you go somewhere so different and you're like, wait, these people are clearly not living by those same principles.
And they seem happier.
And I remember in Vietnam, it was kind of psycho, but I flew into Saigon and I taught English for a week and I was like, you know what? I have nothing but time. I'm just going to get like a shitty mountain bike and ride to Hanoi. So I went from Saigon to Hanoi and then to Cat Ba Island. And I was going through a lot of rural parts of Vietnam. And it was so crazy. Like I would go through these like villages where they were like literally like sheet metal shacks, like whole villages. Like just chickens running around, have like monkeys tied to trees. It was like really cool. Yeah. And these people, like these little kids were just smiling and they'd gather around me on the bikes and they're having so much fun. And like all the people in the rice paddies are just waving to me. And I remember one instance, everything was closed for a Vietnamese holiday. I didn't know that. So I had nowhere to stay. I had no food. I was like, damn, am I just gonna starve tonight and like sleep outside? And I like walked in the store. This store's closed, and this like probably like 16, 17-year-old Vietnamese guy was back behind the counter. And I just did like Google Translate to try to talk to him, tell him my situation. And he literally like went back into the kitchen to feed me rice and chicken and veggies and give me a place to stay. Yeah. And I was like, how much do I owe you? And he's like, no. Like and I was like, these are people that are living in shacks. Yeah. And yet we have people in the United States who have mansions, 4 cars, 4 car garage. And they would never. And I see people here in Boulder, which is a very affluent place, especially when I was waiting tables. You meet a lot of people. And it looked like, some of the more wealthy appearing people would come in and look like they hadn't smiled in a decade. Like they don't have like the lines on their face that would indicate that. And I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah. Clearly the material affluence is not indicative of a high quality of life. No. Well, these people in Vietnam that are living with materially very little seem to have so much. And my question was like, what do they have? Yeah. Why am I tortured in my heart and mind? And these people are so free. Like literally working on rice paddies where it's like, they're plowing it with like a water buffalo. Like this could be like the 1600s. Like yeah, and it's a lot of times that's something I've learned through traveling in many different places too, is a lot of people that have less are actually happier because they're more connected with their environments. They survive and live off their environment and they understand that they are a part of it. They're not disconnected from it. Yeah. I think here we are so disconnected from the environment. People just trash it, treat it however they want. They don't realize that it's a part of them. And when you go other places, they have community. They live off their environment. They're so close. So they might be in a little shack, but they have their family and they're happy and they're fulfilled and they're of service and
at least in my experience, that's what I've noticed a lot of the times. I've gone to a lot of places where people are like, don't go there. That's not going to be safe. Don't do that. And that's the happiest I've ever been, is in those places with people I don't even know.
Right?
Yeah.
I wonder too, hearing you speak, my mind was going to this notion of, in Buddhism, they say that clinging is the root cause of suffering. And when you see so much, what I will say generally we could call greed, which is actually rooted in fear, not having enough.
Yeah.
The clinging to so much materially. Now that I have the mansion and the cars and the private jet, if I just cling to that hard enough and keep stacking up cake, I'll just feel better, right?
Yeah.
And that's the mistake, actually, because that clinging is suffering. Understanding the release is freedom and actually bliss.
Yeah.
That's where living closer to the earth. And when I say that, I mean closer to a less cushioned life, something more raw, something closer to loss, grief, maybe even death. For me, feels like a little bit more comfortable, actually, because that resistance to say not having enough is gone. And the happiest I was ever in my life was that 2-year window of just traveling around, riding the bike, like doing work exchanges, staying at Zen centers. I didn't have anything. I had no like ambition for the future, no goals, no business, like anything, no plans. And it was so simple. And I was like, I'm basically at rock bottom right now. I have nothing. I'm doing like odd jobs, making like, $500 or $1,000, doing like a weekend of construction or something like that.
But are you really at rock bottom?
Right. So that's like, what is rock bottom?
Yeah.
But releasing all that shit that I never actually needed.
Yeah.
And it's in the release. When I pop that bubble and then I'm looking from the outside in, I'm like, wait, I never needed that.
Yeah.
I was torturing myself thinking that I needed that.
We're taught that if we have nothing, we're at rock bottom.
Right.
But whenever I've had nothing is whenever I've felt more connected, more at peace with myself and known, okay, I'm going to survive. Like, I'm fine. I know that the universe provides. I'm connected to it, And
it somehow makes me think of that quote, being in the world but not of it.
Yeah. How
can I still be in this world? And this is still a question I'm asking myself. And like still have things, like really like beautiful relationships, some degree of like material success even. And how do I still not cling to that?
Yeah.
How do I still let it go and recognize if I can just, this is so paradoxical, if I can hold on to letting go, that practice of letting go, somehow my life just, I'm so free. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of having very little or even nothing. I'm not afraid of being nothing. And this is really trippy in Buddhism. They talk about obviously the absence of any real findable self. And Jesus Christ also talks about emptying ourselves, empty ourselves and see what's left. And I found the most radical wholeness in my life through recognizing I'm not real inherently. The thing we call Ben Duffy is a story, a label.
Yeah.
What are we beyond those stories and labels? What are we beyond the assumptions of what this incarnation actually is? Beyond the label of human being even? What are we? And really connecting with that voidness, the absence of any me that could ever be successful or unsuccessful, that could ever be a winner or a loser. Yeah. Something beautiful, a third option appears where we are completely fundamentally whole. Because in the absence of any separate self, any ego, the boundary between me and everything else in creation is gone. How could I not be whole?
Yeah.
How could I be any, like, I can't even really use the word whole because that would imply there's something that isn't whole.
Yeah.
It's beyond that.
You can't label it. Yeah. Anything labeling is just limiting it. And it's just, you just can't, it's beyond words. It's just an understanding of who you are, how you feel, and your truth. And I think it requires a lot of faith to get to that place. Yeah. And understanding.
I heard one teacher say you either have to be like insane to take that jump of really letting go of any identification of self, or you have to really trust your teacher. Yeah. It's one of the scariest things we can do as human beings is to let go of our identity of what I am, that feeling of being grounded in my notion of who I am. When we let go of that and we really enter the void, at first it can feel like free fall.
I have felt so psychotic so many times in my spiritual journey, and it's always ended me up in a good place. But I had to be somewhat delusional, maybe?
Exactly.
Of just like in my faith to know that this is right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I heard a quote before, which is, I'd rather be an optimist and be incorrect than a pessimist and be right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would rather be a delusional optimist, like looking at my life from the lens of, optimism, positivity.
Yeah.
And what if it all goes right? And also, what mental frame would I have to be empowering to even view it as if something were ever going wrong?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The mind is a tool. It is separate from the body, from the emotional body, the soul, our physical vessel. Can cause anxiety and can be hard. But also the mind is a tool that can boost us in life as well. So if you step into that framework and you get there and you project that out, then you're manifesting.
Yeah.
You're stepping into a new timeline. You're embodying it. You're doing those things because you're allowing that to be your thoughts. Yeah. You're changing the cycles in your mind, You're
changing the coding.
Yeah, changing
that we're
the
living
coding.
by.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like the mind, it seems to be, when you really understand our world is predominantly, if not completely, what we could call constructed in mind. As I say in Kabbalah, all is mind, the universe is mental. Even that way of seeing the world is actually mentally constructed. Even that, which implies that too also is mentally constructed. So when we recognize that, it's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of game.
Yeah.
Where the untrained, sort of, as they say, monkey mind, when it just goes from fear to uncertainty to worry, resistance, we are constructing a hellish existence unconsciously. And the key word there is unconsciously. When we're conscious that the mind is constructing really everything, when we're conscious of that, we can start to ask the question, how can I start to construct something that isn't as painful, or that induces freedom or transcendence or connection to myself, to divinity, to others? What stories, narratives, ways of seeing and relating do I need to consciously choose to empower and practice that will open up, in my mind, literally new worlds?
Yeah, choosing your perspective.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like this is not it's my reality. I'm constructing it, I can choose different. I don't have to stay here. If I don't like something, I can change it, even if it's scary, but that's dealing with sitting with it, dealing with it, and then reconstructing it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. In order to change our inner coding, our worldview, we have to get intimate with it. And if we're afraid of discomfort and we're running away from it, you can never get intimate with it.
Yeah.
There's a quote, I forget who said it again, but nothing in life is to be feared, only to be understood. Everything. If we have the courage to actually start to understand our internal landscape, things will transform radically. And the same is true of the world. We push each other away in like all these polarities, politically or geographically, or just through, different ways of relating to the world. And what if we could actually just lean into more understanding of each other?
Yeah.
When we understand the fear in our hearts, the disconnect within ourselves, we come to a point of unity. And the same is true externally at the macro level. If we can lean into understanding, seeing the humanness, seeing the interconnectivity in all of us, maybe we come to this profound understanding and really, I would say, connection.
Yeah.
When I say that, maybe connecting in things that are not material, like the human psyche and how we're already connected if we allow ourselves to open. So this has been an epic riff. I would love to keep going. We're about at time. But Sydney, I want to give you a chance to kind of explain where people can find you and what kind of offerings you have right now.
Yeah. So I have an online studio, House of Samadhi. You can get me on Instagram, on my personal page, or through houseofsamadhi.studio. If you're a first responder and you're looking for first responder help, you can also message me there anytime. And for retreats, it's pretty much all based through there. So if you're looking for assistance with yoga, you're scared to start at a studio, intimidated a bit, or just questions about the practice, I'm here. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, Sydney. I'm glad we got to do this.
Yeah.
You have a lot of great stuff to say, and I'd love to have you on again at some point. Just to keep riffing.
Yeah. Sounds great.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.